angels waging war in the unseen realm. Global events fulfilling biblical prophecy. Eternal life. What lies beyond mortality? From analyzing the paranormal from a biblical worldview to the discussion of cutting-edge science and technology. Conspiracy. Discovery. Special investigative reports. Unafraid to explore the challenging issues facing humanity. Welcome to another edition of Skywatch TV. Special investigative report.
Welcome to Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert. This is a special investigative report, Genetic Armageddon, how cutting-edge science is changing the world in which we live and possibly even what it means to be human. This is tied into the release of a couple of new media projects that we've been working on here at Skywatch TV. First, Inhuman, the movie, documentary film about the transhumanist movement, and the topic today is how we take care of the creatures God has entrusted to us. The new book, Dead Pets Don't Lie, co-authored by Joe Artis and Donna Howell. In studio with me today, a graduate from Indiana University with a degree with honors in molecular biology, Sharon K. Gilbert. The co-author of Dead Pets Don't Lie, Joe Artis, and our special guest, a woman with 20 years experience in conventional and alternative veterinary medicine, the author of a number of books, including The Complete Guide to Holistic Cat Care, an illustrated guide, and Paleo Dog, Give Your Best Friend Long Life, Healthy Weight, and Freedom from Illness by Nurturing His Inner Wolf, which Samwise T. Dachshund has said he must read soon. That's on his reading list. It is our honor to welcome Dr. Jean Hofve to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Jean, your research and the interviews that Joe and Donna Howell included in Dead Pets Don't Lie dealt with how what we feed our pets is affecting them, and it's frankly shocking. As a consumer, an uneducated consumer, who goes to the pet food aisle at the grocery store, I always assumed that the Food and Drug Administration was responsible for protecting our pets against harmful food. Why is it a bad idea to depend on the FDA to protect our cats, dogs, and so forth?
Because primarily the FDA does not get involved until that food hits the shelf. Then, if there are problems, they are reactive instead of proactive. So there's very little, if any, regulation on how the food is made, what goes into it. Pet food is covered under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which means it has to be pure, unadulterated, healthy food. However, FDA has written what they call compliance policies to allow things like dead animals and things that, roadkill and all kinds of really unsavory ingredients, things that are half decayed and everything. And they say, oh, that's fine to go into animal feed, including pet food, as long as there's a kill step and you cook it so the bacteria die.
The denaturing process.
Yeah, generally regarded as safe.
Denaturing is even worse because the
you're
process.
You're adding chemicals, right?
Well, you're adding heat, which changes a lot of things in the food. And it's as carnivores, dogs and cats would eat prey. They would kill them, they would eat them. There's no processing going on there.
Right.
I mean, when's the last time you saw a mountain lion turning a barbecue spit? So, that's what they're intended to eat. And they actually can handle a fair level of bacteria, but the quality and type of ingredients that go into pet foods, especially the cheaper brands that have things like meat and bone meal, which is not meat meal plus bone meal, it's meat and bone meal. It's the name of one ingredient, and pretty much everything but the kitchen sink is allowed by the FDA to be in pet food.
One of the big surprises for me, and I thought I knew a little bit about science, but I was really surprised at the rendering process and the animals that are going to the rendering plants and ending up in the pet food bowl. I know, Joe, you and Donna, who wrote this book, is an awesome book. Thank you for writing it. We're shocked, too, at the rendering plant. What was your first impression when you got to see behind the door?
Well, it's astonishing, the stuff that they include during the rendering process. When a supermarket decides that fish or beef has gone over the expiration date and is no longer sellable to the consumer, this stuff is often presented to the rendering companies, and it's all coming down one conveyor belt. So you've got everything from like some of the decayed cows and stuff that Dr. Hofve was just talking about, diseased meats with maggots. This stuff is way past the acceptable level for consumption by a human. But also you've got the styrofoam trays that a lot of this meat and stuff was still sitting on at the grocery store when people passed it by. None of this stuff at a lot of the large rendering companies, a lot of this stuff's not even being like scrutinized. It's like garbage, the plastic, the stickers that are on the plastic trays, all of this stuff gets rendered into a powder that is then sold to pet food companies as their source of protein.
So the FDA isn't in any way regulating that part of the process?
Well, they have decided not to follow the law and have exempted that type of ingredient from regulation, from enforcement. They don't
officially
enforce it.
exempted it so that these companies can get by.
You can even look it up online. The policies are right there. And it says, stuff that ordinarily would be actionable because it's adulterated, that's okay, go ahead.
It's just for cats and dogs, so who really cares?
Or cows, chickens, pigs, animal feed.
So they're basically taking these dead animals and feeding them back to cattle and chickens as well as what's going into pet food.
Sure. Now, because of the mad cow disease scare, which our government responded to so quickly, it only took them 7 years to take feed for cows and say you can't feed cows back to cows. And so ruminants, which includes all the cloven-hoofed animals, the sheep, goats, cows, those can't be, they have to separate those out and they can't be fed to cows, but they can be fed to everybody else. Now the renderers say we're in the recycling biz. What are we going to do with all this stuff? It's going to go into a landfill if we don't do this. Well, yes, and I understand that. There are lots of uses for rendered products that don't include bringing them into your house and feeding them to your cat. There's other things you can do with that material. But, we have the situation where FDA says, oh, yeah, go ahead and use all that. I had a friend, unfortunately, he passed away a number of years ago, but he was an executive, one of the top executives with one of the biggest renderer companies in the world. And he said that it is very easy for the rendering plant to separate streams of ingredients. And if a pet food company orders just cows or just chickens, it's very easy to separate those streams. He said it's very easy, but they don't bother.
Why would they not?
Well, because unless somebody comes in and gets caught putting German Shepherds in cat food, who's going to say? It comes out at the end, it's a dry, little greasy powder. It's uniform. You cannot tell what's in it.
So, okay, now I can see, chickens, cattle, even horses going to a rendering plant, but you're saying even dead pets that have been euthanized
Yes.
are winding up in these rendering plants and being ground up into meal?
Potentially, yes.
Potentially.
Now, we have independent rendering plants and plants that are associated with a facility. For instance, in Greeley, Colorado, we have the Moffett Beef Company. So stuff that goes to their rendering plant and their packers, that's going to be just cows, because that's all they do. Tyson's in Arkansas, only chickens. And, that's going to be a pretty good quality meal. But independent renderers take everything. They take the roadkill, they take, the cattle that die with the pesticide ear tags still on, that have been laying around waiting for the truck to pick them up. That's the stuff that you're talking about.
Well, what about the drugs that are given to the pets when they're euthanized?
Some of them are kind of deactivated by processing, but some of them are not. For instance, the euthanasia drug pentobarbital is not changed at all by the rendering process and can be found in dog food.
What is the health side effect of consuming
FDA
that?
says, don't worry.
Right.
Don't worry.
There's
it's
acceptable
fine.
levels.
There's acceptable
Generally
levels.
Yes.
recognized
But this
as
is the
safe.
drug that's used to put down animals.
In the first place, right.
And it's winding up back in their food.
Right. It's
Yes.
a barbiturate.
But the FDA doesn't even deny that they know this is happening. Their position
Right.
is simply that these are acceptable levels, that it shouldn't affect your pet's health.
Right. It's not illegal. It's
not illegal.
It's not illegal, so go ahead and do it. So honestly, dead pets in pet food, it's the least of your problems. There's so much else wrong with commercial pet food. It's stunning.
We'll talk about some of those other things to worry about and also what you can do to try to protect your pets from that kind of lack of regulation or lack of enforcement, as our special report on Genetic Armageddon continues next on Skywatch TV.
Coming exclusively from Skywatch TV for a very limited time starting November 17th, 2015. When you purchase the new documentary film Inhuman and the companion book Dead Pets Don't Lie from Skywatch TV, you'll receive the largest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. An unprecedented $300 in free books, audio sets, and DVDs to add to your library or to give away as gifts during this holiday season. Included in this limited time giveaway are never before offered free audio sets. Over 30 hours of the most sought after interviews in history with global experts combined on a special 2-disc volume set discussing the unfolding genetic Armageddon now underway and what you need to know to survive the future. Featuring Something Transhumanism This Way Comes, The Coming Replacement Humans, The Days of Noah, The Coming Zombie Apocalypse, Conspiracy Theory, Psychotronic Warfare. Also, for a very limited time, in addition to the never-before offered free best-selling audio sets, if you order before this special offer expires, you'll also receive the multi-part Skywatch TV special investigative report on Inhuman the documentary and Dead Pets Don't Lie, the award-winning book Forbidden Gates, Pandemonium's Engine, the best-selling DVD by dog behavior expert Joe Artis, The Natural Dog Training Method. The breakthrough book for pet enthusiasts everywhere, Do Our Pets Go to Heaven? 2 additional mystery books with a $40 value. And if you're one of the first 3,000 customers to place your order during this limited time offer, you will also receive, absolutely free, the groundbreaking WorldNet daily film, The Last Pope, featuring Tom Horn. Place your order beginning November 17th, 2015. Altogether, the never-before offered free 6 full audio series on a 2-disc volume set plus the 5 free books and 2 additional DVDs total an astounding $300 giveaway to add to your library or to give away as gifts during this holiday season. So it's urgent that beginning November 17th, 2015, you order the new documentary film Inhuman and the companion book Dead Pets Don't Lie for only $39.95 to also receive the largest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. But please understand this offer will end without notification and is on a first-come, first-served basis starting November 17th. So be sure to visit skywatchtv.com to follow the countdown to the greatest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. Order the new documentary film Inhuman and the companion book Dead Pets Don't Lie for only $39.95 to also receive the largest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. Coming this November.
I'm not sure that the world is ready to receive this.
Tom Horn, Joe Artis, Donna Howell, and the Skywatch investigation team join a host of global experts in the conclusion of a multi-year undercover inquiry that exposes what the U.S. government, the FDA, and monster corporations have been hiding from you.
We're talking about everything from the food that we eat to animals and pet animals to ultimately humans. Literally, what we have been doing with genetically modified crops, what we have and are doing with transgenically made animals, we fully intend to do with the human race. I mean, how many people know right now that the last scientist in Congress, Bill Foster, recently spoke before Congress. He wrote an article for The Hill in which he says that right now the top science departments in our government that dole out taxpayer-funded revenue have already been ordered to literally create the guidelines that are going to be used for genetically modifying the human race.
I think 90% of Americans would be shocked if they learned that their cats and dogs were eating these diseased meats and euthanized pets.
During our investigation, we were able to verify that if your pet Fluffy had been euthanized at one of these vet clinics or one of these shelters, it would be recycled into food byproducts, toothpaste, cosmetics, deodorant.
The stench is overwhelming. It's unbelievable.
Coming in November, an unprecedented, official, and imposing undercover report that exposes what government agencies and greedy corporations are hiding about a genetic menace that is slowly, quietly, secretly killing and transforming all of creation.
They have made a Faustian deal with the devil. I'm talking about our government. They have sold out the best interest of Americans to greedy monster corporations that are in their back pockets.
Coming this November exclusively from Skywatch TV. Dead Pets Don't Lie. Inhuman the documentary. Survive the Future.
Our special report, Genetic Armageddon, how we're transforming the world around us and perhaps even what it means to be human, continues on Skywatch TV. Our special guests, Joe Artis, co-author of Dead Pets Don't Lie, and Dr. Jean Hofve, an expert in holistic veterinary medicine. You left us with a compelling statement, one that's kind of concerning. You say that the lack of regulation by the FDA on what's going into our pet foods is the least of our worries?
Yes. There are so many other things wrong with commercial pet food. For example, over the years, as meat packers have gotten better at extracting more meat off of a carcass, there's less meat to go into pet food. Carnivores need meat, but what they really need is protein. So they've gone to plant sources of protein, corn gluten meal, and soybean meal, and things like that, substituting for meat. Over the years, that has created a lot of problems. And unfortunately, cats seem to be the number one sensitive victim. They're the canary in the coal mine. When there was not enough meat and therefore not enough taurine, which is an amino acid found only in meat, they started dying of heart disease and going blind. This is in the 80s. And researchers at UC Davis figured out that it was because they had substituted more and more plant protein that was incomplete as far as the cats were concerned. And it didn't have enough of this amino acid to keep their heart healthy and to keep taurine is incorporated into the retina and the heart primarily. And without those sources, they were dying. There have been a number of diseases that have later been tracked to a nutritional cause. And so, now they add taurine to cat food. It turns out that some dogs also need taurine. They don't put it in dog food. So certain breeds and certain lines, genetic lines of dogs also need taurine, but the pet food industry is not addressing this.
And again, it's because these, the cats especially, but these certain lines of dogs are basically closer to wolf, perhaps.
Well,
but they need more.
They're genetically susceptible to taurine deficiency, and they react very badly, like blowing up their heart. So,
how does it affect them when we artificially add just that amino acid as a separate ingredient instead of feeding them a product that draws the taurine from the source naturally?
Well, that's a good question. And synthetic taurine seems to it prevents the frank deficiency. Pet food is designed to prevent deficiencies. We know a lot about what deficiencies and how much magnesium to put in to prevent a deficiency, how much thiamine to put in to prevent deficiency. But the pet food industry has little interest in what is optimal nutrition for our pets. They know what's minimal. And because corporations are required by law to have profit and shareholder dividends as their number one goal, they do everything to maximize profit and minimize costs. That's how you make money in this country. That's their duty. It's federal law. So when a big pet food company says, your animal is number one with us, they're either lying or breaking the law.
Imagine that. Well, you said that a lot of the ingredients, in fact, many times, it's a main ingredient in the pet food, is corn or corn gluten. The genetically modified species of corn, the field corn that is used, tell me how that affects the animal.
It's hard to say how it affects them because science is not interested in discovering that answer. But I can tell you we have so much chronic disease in pets these days, diseases that were never heard of. We have cancer. Half of dogs over 10 years of age, and they're finding out cats as well, half of them will die of cancer. I had a friend whose puppy 6-month-old puppy had chronic lymphoblastic leukemia.
Oh my.
These animals are being born with cancer. Now, what's wrong with this picture? You know, nutrition is the foundation of health. You can't do anything. You can't heal your body. You can't make good, healthy red blood cells. You can't, you know, if you're nutrition poor, I mean, look at all the diseases in developing countries that are solvable just with good nutrition. And, you know, the pet food companies, bless their little hearts, they have done a lot of research. They know a whole lot about nutrition. Are they motivated to do more than just the minimum? Mostly, no.
You say that the big, well-produced advertising campaigns for pet foods on television that usually will advertise how good they are for your dog or cat are a red flag in your view. Why is that?
In my opinion, television advertising is the most expensive advertising on the planet.
Yes.
It costs a lot of money to put those shows on.
Clearly, yes.
So if you have a dog food, say, and when you calculate out the cost, it's $2 a pound. Okay, that would be a pretty good food. When you account for paying the farmer, paying the grower, paying the slaughterhouse, paying the rendering plant, paying the canning company, paying the printer for the labels, the trucking, the distribution, the shelf space, the profit at every level, you've got 15 to 25 cents a pound that's actually going into ingredients. And I believe that actually is worse when you're talking about financing these gigantic advertising campaigns, because that money has to come from somewhere, and it's going to come out of the ingredients. The ingredient quality is going to be your biggest problem.
So in other words, in order to afford the television campaign, the money that's going into the commercials is being taken out of the quality of the ingredients going into the food.
Right, because there are many grades of, say, meat or byproducts. You can get, grade A choice, all the really good stuff, or you can get the cheapest grade. Those often are coming from China or other countries where there's little to no regulation. Almost all fish meal going into pet food comes from China or Thailand, which is kind of a problem because they use human slavery to produce it.
Yes.
And
Associated Press has done a number of special reports on that here just in recent months. Yeah.
Right. So, and the quality of the that's for human consumption, but the stuff that's not good enough for that goes directly into pet food. And companies like, the big giant multinationals admit that they are buying their products from China.
We often, as parents and grandparents, we think about nutritionally what we're going to give our kids and our grandkids. And there's the old rule, we don't give a child a bunch of sugar because that's just going to have a hyperactive child for the afternoon. There are sugars in a lot of these pet foods. And Joe, you are an expert in training behavioral modification in animals. What do you think, and you can weigh in on this again, Dr. Hofve, the sugars, the nutrition that is, or the lack thereof, how is this affecting the animal's behavior?
Well, Dr. Hofve said earlier that things like euthanized, as crazy as this statement sounds, things like euthanized pets would be the least of a consumer's worry. And if I may elaborate a little bit, part of what I assume you meant by that was it's not just lack of regulation, it's also what's being added intentionally. During Donna Howell and I, during our investigation into the book Dead Pets Don't Lie, we spent just a number of days before we discovered chemicals like ethoxyquin is manufactured so that the food itself has a much longer than natural shelf life. So in addition to artificial dyes that go into the kibbles to make them look like you're getting carrots and peas and steak and pork and all, which is totally the same kibble being manufactured at redundancy, but they'll dye them different colors. Those dyes have devastating ramifications to the kidneys. Chemicals like ethoxyquin give the bag a 9-month shelf life.
Oh, now it's 18 months.
Oh, is it?
Yes. Oh, my goodness.
Right. So, and those chemicals are linked to stillbirths, kidney failure, tumors, every kind of canine cancer that's available. So it's not just that they're starting out with really poor byproducts in a lot of cases, but it's also what they're adding to that terrible food to start with to make it last a very long time and look very attractive to the consumer. Not to the dog. The dog could care less if it's orange and brown and green and it looks like vegetables.
No, our dachshund has, swallowed moles whole, so I'm sure he doesn't care much about the presentation in the bowl. But we just have a couple of minutes left.
Sure.
And I don't want to cut you off, and we're certainly going to explore this a little more further in our next conversation. But Dr. Hofve, before we leave today, would like to just offer some guidance, perhaps, to viewers. What would you recommend, some just very basic common sense things on how we can be better stewards and take care of our dogs and cats better?
Well, unfortunately, the way to do it is to educate yourself. There's lots of resources online. My website, littlebigcat.com, my books, a lot of places out there talk about what really goes into pet food, and do a little research, because the information is fairly easy to find, but it takes time. It takes time. And you can't believe what the pet food companies are telling you. You can't believe what the veterinarians are telling you, because they're not educated about nutrition. When I went to vet school, I had 2 hours in 4 years on pet nutrition. So, it's really a buyer beware situation. One thing I would say is that kibble, dry pet food, is probably the worst offender. The worst ingredients go into that because it's a dry brown powder. They come out, you can put anything in there and disguise it. But, there are problems with canned food. I do recommend raw and homemade food for animals, but not every person is capable of following that regime, and not every pet will do well on it. You have to pay attention and figure out what's best for your pet. One thing I would absolutely emphasize is variety. Don't fall for the feed our food every day for the rest of his life. That's a really good way to get into trouble.
Dr. Jean Hofve, littlebigcat.com is her website. Joe Artis, co-author of the new book, Dead Pets Don't Lie. For Sharon K. Gilbert, I'm Derek Gilbert. This is our special report on Genetic Armageddon. We thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is Skywatch TV. The supernatural realm is real, and we humans are naturally curious about it. That's why there are so many television reality shows featuring ghost hunters and alien chasers and mediums and psychics. Now, by definition, we Christians believe in the supernatural, and yet most churches avoid these controversial topics. Our mission here at Skywatch TV is to address these topics of the paranormal and the supernatural from a biblical perspective. This is, after all, the authoritative book on the subject. But we depend on your help to do it. To find out more on how you can support Skywatch TV, prayerfully and financially, log on to our website, skywatchtv.com. Our mission also to keep you informed through news items we think are important and the latest news updates about Skywatch TV. You can follow those on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, various other places. And of course, all of our programs, if you can't watch them live, are archived at our website and our official YouTube channel. You can find all the places where you can see Skywatch TV and follow us on the internet at skywatchtv.com/web. And of course, you can watch our programming anytime, day or night, on demand through Roku. For instructions on how to add our Roku channel to your Roku account, log on to skywatchtv.com/Roku. And keep watching as we keep watch at Skywatch TV.